Hello, welcome back. This is step number 5, deploy. This is the one you've been waiting on. This is the one where we're gonna put the InFlataSaver inner tube inside your boat, lock it down, pump it up, and then you're ready to go. So just like normal, we have help forms for every single step. I'm gonna follow along. This is where you're gonna wanna go back to the previous step and make sure you've done these two things. And like in our last step we showed you, you always want to take your trimmer, your inner body, put it in the boat, and push all your holes through, make sure it fits, make sure the poke big enough. We've already done that in the previous step, so we know that works. Also, you want to check and make sure that you're using the right size. This is a 6'5", and I have one on the bench, so that's what we have, is a 6'5". Now let's talk about that, because there's a couple things that I talk about the lock mechanism and things like that. Let me show you what we have. This is the package unit that you saw before. Now when you mount it, we also talked about, you know, the tabs, the locking tabs, how they should 99% of the time they're going to be up, and you tie your cap on that way, right? And then I wanted to show you and talk to you about this. And the reason is because I checked all these, and most of them come out to exactly the same thing. And when we talked about mounting it and having the name up and the cap down, that's when we do that. You'll have your two, screw holes here, then 2 screw holes going right through the middle, and then 2 at the bottom like that. So when you put it on there, and they're up, and this is going down, that would be almost in the middle of the locking mechanism. Now, see, this is what makes this amazing, is you can turn it one adjustment hole, that gives you, that's 60 degrees. But now if you notice, you're real close to where that is right at the start. And that's where we're going to be. And then what we'll do is right before we inflate it, we'll turn it, 15 or 20 degrees, 10 degrees, and lock it in before we bolt it all the way down. And it's easy to show you this while I'm on camera, because I have another one here that's just like it. And that would be like that. If you see, the lines of the inner tube are almost going right down the screw holes. So all you would do is just turn it a little tiny bit, see? And you can do that, but what you got to remember is you never want to turn it. You never want to turn the valve when the inner tube is fully inflated, because then you could damage it around there. So you're only locking it in before you do it. It's not a big deal. You can always go back, deflate it, then turn it, then re-inflate it. So that's what you do if you have any problems while we're inflating it. Now also, because this is on a big rig, I'm gonna be holding up the sides when I'm pumping it up. And I have air compressor in the shop to make that easy for me. This takes just a few minutes to do, but I'm gonna go through it just like that. So the first thing you wanna do when you make sure you have the right one, everything's going good, before you take the packaging off, you're going to stick this through the inner body. Now, I'm doing it by myself, so it's a little harder for me. But what you want to do is massage right around the valve, fold that like that, get your inner tube going up. Now, you're going to want to put the screws going to you, slide it right down, make sure they don't touch the inner tube. Make sure you don't scratch the inner tube. Now, once you get down to the bottom again here, you're going to massage it a little bit. And you're going to push it one way, get one side in, and then you're done. See, it was that easy. Now, that's how it's going to go in, just like that. I'm going to lay that over here. You always want to keep that out of the way so that you don't accidentally mess it up while you don't want to be working around it. Okay, so we've done that. Now we're going to go on to soapy water. And, oh, I'm sorry, at the beginning, what you're gonna need for this step is either 8mm or 5/16 wrench. And I have both, one of each, they both fit perfectly. Then you're gonna want a little bit of dish soap and some water, which I have right next to me. Then you're gonna also need your air pump and your air fitting if you get a kit, a package for your kits. That will come with it. If not, you can purchase it separately. I have a little bit special one that I made myself that I can hook to an air hose in the shop. So you might hear the compressor going while it pumps up, and I'll be holding it up while it pumps up. You would never, normally it would be sitting on the ground, not on a pedestal. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to pour in our soapy water. Then we're going to get our unit, our inner tube. We're going to fold it like we did, like we were putting it in. Then we're going to pull the packaging off and insert it through the hole. Now I'm going to be doing this myself, so I might be moving around a little bit. And normally I always recommend for your first time you have somebody help you. But if you'll notice on this one, the 6 goes forward and the 5 goes aft. So right now what we're going to do is I'm going to start pouring in the water. And you want about 1 gallon, 2 gallons. It'd be even better with a water hose. Like I said, I'm just doing this. It's in the shop. I don't want to get a bunch of water everywhere, especially on camera. But what you're doing is you're filling this up, and what this water is acting as is when you're inflating the bag, it's like a lubricant where it lubricates the bag so the inner tube can inflate wholly inside the enclosure of your inflatable boat. So what we do is we pour that water in there. Here I got a little bit more, it's about 2 gallons. You already start to see it drip out. And that's another thing, as you inflate this thing, you're going to see water coming out all the old leaks, and that's normal. So if you see that, don't worry. What you want to do is get this all moving around, try and get it spread throughout. Now what we're going to do is we're going to fold it like we had it before. Make sure it's going the correct way, which is this way. Then while I hold it, you're going to see me pull these off. Alright, the way I'm going to do is first I'm going to put one side in because I'm doing it by myself. So here's the 6. First I'm going to slide it in. Right? Then I'm going to take the 5. Pull the packaging off. We're going to slide that side in. Alright. Make sure it's all aligned. Make sure it's all straight. Like I said, it's a little different because I have to hold it up in this one because we're on the pedestal. But we're all straight now. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the inner body and push it through the holes. Now, remember I told you we're going to go one screw hole over. That'll be down, tabs will be up. It's a thin material. So instead of being there, we're going to turn one hole over and be right there. Now you get your nuts. Get them started, no big deal. move around. Now the name of the game with this, the whole lock mechanism and the way it works, is before you fully blow this up, you're going to want to make sure that you're totally tight on this and everything's good. Now you can always, like I said, you can always go back. You can always go back and undo it if you need to, if something happens and it doesn't inflate correctly and straight. But right now, you see we're almost straight. I turned it a tiny bit, and I'm going to go ahead and give it a little snug down. And then you can at least inflate it 3/4, make sure everything's right. And then, once you're there, that's when you fully inflate it. But if you notice, I'm right on the edge of what I call the ramp, right at the beginning on the left-hand side. I'm going ahead and locking it all the way down because that looks good and tight. The inner tube's almost exactly straight. We know that it's straight in here and it's not twisted. So now we checked the alignment, we moved it, we did everything. So now what we're going to do is we snug it down, we're going to inflate it to 3/4. Now like I said, I have the special tool that allows me, but remember like I said in the beginning, is that it'll blow up in the circumference and then the ends will grow. So what you want to do is, like I said, I'm holding it up, but you can always hold it up as it's doing that and help it out a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Hold it up, help it. Now I know you will be using 90% of you'll be using a hand pump for this. And you never want to pump it up where it's super hard. It shouldn't be super hard. It should grow slowly. Because if it's super hard right in the middle, that means something's twisted or tight. But you really shouldn't have to mess with it. You just make sure that it's getting round. Hold up the ends. And it's just going to blow up and then continue to grow. And you got so much water leaking out on the floor, it's amazing. And that's because the air is escaping with the water through your old leaks. So if you notice, it's coming right up to pressure. I'm not really getting any irregularities. Because if you do see irregularities, you're going to want to quit. Now, you're going to feel water coming out of your valve. That's normal. It'll drip out of your old seams or wherever you had old punctures. That's normal. But if you notice, I just pumped it all the way up. I'm checking to make sure that it's fully inflated. Massage it, make sure that you got no irregularities. See, it's not all the way done. Then I want to get my wrench and make sure it's fully tight. You don't want to over tighten them now. But you know that's fully tight, so now I'm going to go back to inflating. And there you go. It's that simple. Put your cap on. And you have deployed InFlataSaver for the first time. Now what you do is, you do this again and again and again for whatever tubes you need to do. And also, you got to let the air leak out, because a lot of times you'll get air leaking out around the valve, through your old holes. So you have to let that leak out and then continue pumping, because it's a lot more air coming out than you think. So that's the whole thing. You've seen the whole thing from beginning to end. That's how easy it is. We definitely break these down into multiple steps so that they're all separate and you're doing them separately. But there you go, that's it. That's how simple it is. I want to thank you for following us. I want to thank you for your participation. And I want to thank you for your interest. Thank you.